Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Akila and today I'm going to be taking you through Vinyasa flow. This is going to be a gentle Vinyasa flow designed for a long travel day. So if you're feeling a little bit jet lagged or maybe you've been sitting on a plane for a really long time and you're feeling a bit stiff, this is a great quick practice that you can do potentially on a layover or when you arrive at your destination and you're feeling tired and stiff and you just want something quick to feel a little bit better. So that's what this class is targeted for today. And you may want to have a couple blocks for class, but it's not a requirement. You just may want them to bring the floor a little bit closer to you. And then for all of my classes, I generally attach a cause to it. So either a charity or something you can contribute to. So today the cause that I'd like to highlight is called Fly Angel. So this is a pet transport service that operates out of Puerto Rico. And the way that it works is that you can, if you're flying from Puerto Rico to another destination within the United States, you can opt to bring a pet with you. And this helps to alleviate some of the overpopulation of the shelters in Puerto Rico. And you just transport them, whatever flight you're going on, you'll just let them know your destination. And you can add the pet to your flight and fly with them and bring them to whatever your destination is, and someone will meet you at the airport and pick up that pet. So we did this when we came from Puerto Rico. It was extremely rewarding. We took a little puppy named Emma and she was so sweet, very, very rewarding. And they don't have a donation page at this time on their website, but they do have 15% of their merchandise proceeds go towards helping shelters and helping fund these operations in transporting these pets. So I'll put a link below for their website where you can buy some of their merchandise, and some of the proceeds for that will go towards helping the pets. And if you're flying from Puerto Rico and you're interested in being a Fly Angel, you can also check out on their website how you can apply to do it yourself. So all that being said, we will go ahead and get started. And we'll just come to a seat on the shins, taking the eyes to close for a moment. Starting to lengthen the breath in through the nose. Feeling the buoyancy of the lungs full at the top of the breath before you let it release. On the exhales, feeling the shoulders drop heavy away from the ears. Feeling the shins grounding down. And if seated on the shins is too much pressure on the ankles, you can always prop a block underneath of the hips and sit onto the block to alleviate some of the pressure onto the tops of the ankles. And when you take your inhales, you'll feel your ribs expand in all directions. And then exhaling. Keeping the lips sealed, taking the exhales through the nose. Starting to slow down the breath. If you are taking this class after having had a long travel day, you might be hanging on to some stress. So really doing your best to lengthen the breath. Allow the breath to indicate to your nervous system that you are okay. You have time to sit and to breathe. And the next time you take an inhale, just start to tent the left fingertips out towards the floor on the left side. And then reaching your right hand up and over, taking your right hand to your left ear, and then gently coaxing the head to tilt over to the right. So finding a gentle traction the right fingertips to the left ear. And if you're not feeling much sensation, you can always walk the left fingertips a little bit further away from the shins. On the inhales, you find length in the spine. And then exhales, maybe you traction the head a little bit more towards the right, but being very gentle here. And then start to gently release the right hand, taking the head up through the center. Maybe taking a little shake of the head side to side. Then we'll swap that out for the second side. So right fingertips reach out long towards the floor. Then the left hand reaches up and over, gently placing the hand over the right ear. And letting the head tilt gently over to the left. Again, if you're not feeling much sensation, you can increase the tug on the neck, or you can wiggle the right fingertips further away from the shin. But wherever you are, we're just going for gentle. Once you start to feel the sensation, that's where you pause. And then coming up through the center, release the grip on the head. Maybe take some half circles of the neck, dropping the chin towards the chest and letting the right ear come towards the right shoulder. And then dropping the chin to the chest, letting the left ear fall over towards the left shoulder. Rocking a few times in each direction. Taking it as slow as you need to. And then we'll start to sit forward just enough that we can tuck the toes under. And then sit back towards the heels. If this is really intense, you can always keep the toes untucked. On the inhales, you'll take the left fingertips off to the left side of the mat. And start to sweep the right arm across, reaching the right arm up on the left diagonal. And then as you exhale, transition to the second side. So right fingertips sweep off the right side of the mat and left fingertips reach up on the diagonal. Feeling a stretch in the bottoms of the feet. And again, if it gets too intense, you can always release the feet, coming back to the shins. Inhale sweeps you to the left side. Left fingertips tent, right fingertips reach up and over. And then swap it out for the second side. And then from here, we'll start to grow this. So as the left fingertips sweep across and reach the floor, fingertips tent, right hand reaches up and over on the diagonal. And then maybe you start to lift the hips. And then right fingertips sweep across, right fingertips tent off the mat slightly. And left hand reaches, maybe you start to lift the hips. And then from here, you can see if you can grow it more. So when the left fingertips sweep across, maybe they come slightly behind you. And right arm sweeps across and behind, maybe the hips lift up a lot. Sweeping over to the right, fingertips maybe tent slightly behind the feet. And then you start to lift the hips up as the left arm reaches up and back. Just a few more sweeps, your own tempo. Taking it nice and gentle and only growing it as much as you feel like you can. And start to coordinate it with the breath. So on the inhales, you're sweeping forward through the center. Exhales, you sweep off to the side and over into a slight back bend. Inhale through the center. Exhale, sweeps the fingertips to the floor and the other arm reaches up and over. And then once you're even on both sides, you can come back through the center. Come through a tabletop position. Tuck the toes and lift the hips up towards a downward facing dog. You can take a little pedal from foot to foot. Letting the head fall heavy towards the mat. Sending the sit bones up and back. Gentle stretch into the hamstrings. Really pressing down firmly into the palms. Trying to create this spaciousness in the spine. Bending your knees as much as you need to do so. And then you'll bend the right knee and pull the right heel in towards the glute. And start to take some gentle circles of the knee. You can start in either direction. Taking 3 to 4 large circles of the knee in each direction. Taking it at your own tempo. As big of a circle as you can make with the knee. And then once you've done 3 to 4 circles in each direction, you'll cross the right leg behind the left leg, coming into this cross-legged variation of a downward facing dog. And then you can start to walk the hands towards the back of the mat to meet the feet. And then you'll walk your fingertips off towards the right side of the mat. So coming into this little micro twist within the upper back. Grounding down into both feet. And then you'll walk the fingertips off to the left side of the mat. Aiming to feel a sensation down the outer side of the right thigh, the IT band area. And then we'll walk the hands back through the center. You can uncross the legs and then start to walk the hands back out, finding your downward facing dog again. And then next time you take an inhale, you'll bend the left knee, pulling the left heel into the glute. And again, we're going to take those circles of the knee in both directions. So taking 3 to 4 counterclockwise, and then 3 to 4 circles clockwise. Taking as much time as you need for these circles. And once you have completed 3 to 4 circles in both directions in your own time, you'll cross that left leg behind the right leg, coming into this cross-legged variation of the down dog. And then you'll walk your hands towards the back of the mat. Hands meet the feet. And then walking your fingertips off to the left edge of the mat. Just a few breaths here. And then you'll start to walk the fingertips off to the right side of the mat. Feeling this stretch down the outer edge of the left thigh this time. And you can even send those hips over a little bit to the left edge of the mat if you want to seek a little bit more sensation. And then from here, we'll come back through the center, Uncross the legs and start to walk the hands back out, finding your downward facing dog. Then you'll drop the knees down to the mat. Finding a tabletop position, so the knees directly underneath of the hips, wrists directly under the shoulders. And then the next inhale you'll take your right knee to circle outwards to the side as if you're dog peeing on a fire hydrant. Not a great image, but you get the idea. And you're gonna circle that knee all the way to cross behind the left knee. So you're in this crisscross position in your tabletop position, and then you're gonna angle your feet out to the edges of the mat. So you're creating like an arrow shape with your shins. And then from here, you can start to push the hips back slightly. Maybe you walk the hands a little bit further away. So it's as if you're coming towards a puppy pose. Hips are pointing back to the edge of the mat at the back of the room. And you can take a slight wiggle of your hips from side to side until you find a place that feels like a good amount of sensation, but not overly straining. And we'll take 2 more breaths here. Working towards an opening of the outer hips. And then coming back through the center, uncrossing the legs, and taking a few cat-cows. So on the inhales, you drop the belly, lift the gaze up towards the ceiling. And then exhale, pressing into the palms and into the shins, round into the spine. Gaze comes in towards the belly button. 2 more times. Inhale, belly drops, gaze comes up. And then exhale, we round into the spine. Gaze comes in towards the belly button. 1 more cat-cow here. Inhale, belly drops, gaze lifts. Wide across the collarbones. And then exhale, we round in. Belly button pulls in towards the spine. Then inhale, we come back through neutral and take to the second side. Next inhale, you take circles the left knee forward, out and around, and then we cross that left knee behind the right, both shins coming to the mat. And then angling the shins so that they are pointing like an arrow. And then taking the hands to walk slightly forward, perhaps sending the hips back. Chest pulls down heavy towards the mat. And if you're not feeling much sensation in the outer hips, perhaps play with experimenting with a new angle of the shins. So you can make that angle wider if you want more intensity. Just a few more breaths here. Seeing if you can lengthen into the vertebra. Press down firmly into the palms. Coaxing the chest closer to the mat if you can. Then the next inhale you take, we'll walk the hands back in slightly. We unravel the cross of the legs. And toes tucked or untucked this time. We'll take a few more cat-cows. So inhale, belly drops, gaze lifts. Maybe you find a little bit more depth in the pose now. Exhale, curl in, press down firmly into the hands and into the feet. Rounding into the spine. Inhale, peels, you open for a slight back bend, coming into your cow pose. Exhale, curls in for cat. Last time here, inhale pulls the chest through, gaze comes up and forward. And then exhale, we round into the spine. Gaze comes in. And then the next exhale you take, we come through neutral in the tabletop and then take the hips up and back for a downward facing dog. Next inhale, we'll take the right toes up and back for a three-legged dog. And then exhale, pull the right knee into the right elbow and step that foot outside of the right hand, dropping the back knee, coming towards a lizard lunge. So in your lizard lunge, you may want to have your blocks here underneath of the hands to bring the floor a little bit closer to you. Or maybe you reach the fingertips or the palms towards the floor. Back toes can be tucked under or they can be released long, whatever you prefer. And then maybe you start to drop the forearms towards the mat. And we will stay here for a relatively long hold. So wherever you find yourself, just making sure that you don't push yourself too far. And the purpose of this class is to make yourself feel better, not to make yourself feel worse. So straining into any poses with too much depth is not going to benefit you here. Maybe you take that right foot to roll to the outer edge and let the right knee drop out to the side slightly. That can open up more space. On your inhales, the chest pulls forward. On the exhales, maybe you find a little bit more depth. We'll take a few more breaths here. 2 to 3 more breaths on your own tempo. And the next time you take an inhale, you'll start to walk back up to the hands if you weren't there already. And start to tuck onto the back toes if they were untucked. Lift the back knee. And you'll start to walk the hands over towards the left edge of the mat and pivot towards the left. So all 10 of your toes are facing the left edge of your mat, coming into a wide-legged forward fold. And from here, you can take any variation of the arms that you'd like. Maybe you grab opposite elbows and let the head hang heavy. If your head can reach the floor and you have a headstand in your practice, you're more than welcome to take it. You can play with bending into one knee and then the other. Really trying to send the sit bones high up towards the ceiling. Maybe you walk the hands through the legs, reaching for the right edge of the mat behind you. Just a few more breaths here. Trying to maintain the breath lengthened, controlled, slow. And then when you're ready, Starting to walk your hands towards the left foot. And we'll pivot towards the back of the mat. All 10 toes pivot to face the back of the mat. And then we just drop the back knee and you're in your lizard lunge on the second side. So again, same options here. Maybe you stay up onto the hands. Back toes can be tucked or untucked. Any adjustments you need as you get there to make it feel good for you. Then maybe you walk the forearms down. Maybe peeling to the outer edge of the left foot. Left knee can drop out slightly. And more than welcome to find a little rock side to side in this pose. We will be staying here for a few breaths. And again, I encourage you not to strain here. There is definitely a difference between searching for a sensation and pushing the stretch beyond what we are capable of. So very important that you listen to your body here. Especially if you have been static for a very long time. It's important to be gentle as you start to reintroduce movement. And we'll take about 3 more breaths here. And just using my demo as a gentle guide. So if your breaths take less time or more time than mine, feel free to come in and out of these poses on your own breath rhythm. But once you're ready, making your way out, and you'll start to tuck into the back toes, lift the back knee, press into the hands, and just step the left foot back, finding your downward facing dog. And from here, we'll just drop the knees and come up to stand on the shins. We'll come towards a camel pose. So the back toes can be tucked or untucked, whatever you prefer. Some people find untucked to be more stable, and then others find the tucked toe variation to provide more stability for them. So take a play around with both, and then whichever one you like better, you can choose. We'll take the hands to start the low back, fingertips point down towards the backs of the knees. And then start to take a gentle opening of the chest. And hands can stay either to the base of the spine, or they can start to slide down the legs, maybe come towards the backs of the calves, or towards the ankles. Lifting the sternum up towards the sky and pressing the hips forward. Head falls back. Opening wide across the chest. Taking one more inhale here. And then exhale, slowly and controlled, we come out. Untuck the toes if they are tucked and start to sit the hips back towards the heels. Nice and gentle. Then take the knees slightly wider, big toes come to touch. And then we'll walk the hands forward, coming towards a child's pose. Forehead drops down heavy to the mat. Feeling all the places where the floor supports you. Underneath of the palms and the forearms. Shins rooting down heavy.
And the hips falling heavily into the heels. And back of the neck lengthens long. And the chest is gently feeling the pull of gravity down towards the floor. Reminding yourself gently to elongate the inhales. Maintain the steadiness of the exhales. And this child's pose is where I will leave you for practice today. But you're more than welcome to continue on into a more traditional Shavasana. However you'd like to finish the practice, it's entirely up to you. But this is the last pose that I will cue for today. I want to thank you so much for taking class with me today. If you are taking this class after a long travel day, I hope you have an amazing time on your trip, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. And I will see you for the next practice. Thank you so much.